Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to episode 140, Big 14. In here today.
Let's get
Hope
it.
everyone's doing well. Got your weekend started on the right foot, and you enjoyed, and you had a good week. But hey, we hope. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Hope you have already subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, go ahead and look in our bios and go to Parallel Gens, and then we will, you can subscribe to it, and we're gonna be moving to that platform soon. My boy will be coming back in the next couple of weeks. We can't wait. We're gonna have a steady time, so y'all know exactly when we coming on. But thank y'all for coming in, Oz and Lee. As always, thank you all for being there, just making sure that we do things the right way and keeping us on track. What's up, bro?
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I'm legendary. All right. But yeah, as always, just what Big Bro said, I appreciate y'all for coming into the podcast today. Just what he said, episode 14. Oz, Lee, as always, appreciate y'all for holding it down. I'm getting ready to leave Korea here within the next 10 days, flying out. Listen, I'm trying to get back to the States, Other than that, though, just what he said, we're going to get back for a little bit. I'm going to see my family, and then we'll set a specific time so that y'all will know when we're going live, and it can be forecast properly, just so y'all know that. Other than that, though, hey, I'm ready to get started. Big Bro, what we talking about first?
What's up? We got some. We think we got some good topics. We always have good topics. First of all, let me stop playing.
Sure.
But we think we got some topics though that we're gonna really enjoy today, and hopefully you all enjoy them as well. What the way the format is, if you're new in here, what we do is we don't take questions during the episode, during the different segments, but we will take questions at the end. If you want to put them in the chat, I and Lees will write them down, and we'll take them in the order that we receive them. Now, if for some reason your question doesn't come up, because things do get they get filtered on here sometimes, just retype it in the chat. We will not ignore any questions. We'll stay back and answer all questions until we get them all taken care of. So with that being said, we're gonna jump into the first topic. The first topic we're gonna be talking about is gonna be what are some so-called chores or traditional roles that men and women play in the house, and do you have those type of dynamics set up in your household? I'll let you go ahead and jump in first, bro.
Yeah. So when I think of traditional chores and that situation, right, it's more so of thinking of gender roles. Like that's the only thing that I can think of when it comes to that. So I guess I'll lean towards the gender roles. All right. Do I believe in gender roles? And when we say gender roles, that just means like, how we perceive a woman to be in the kitchen or a woman to stay home and take care of the kid. And then a guy to go out there and work, or I gotta go outside and cut the grass, he ain't in the kitchen, etc. Just so we all on the same page. Do I believe in gender roles in this day and age? No, I don't. And I only say that because there's just going to be specific times to where you're going to be busy as far as like working, or as far as you having anything to do with the kids, or as far as you going, visit family and things of that nature. So it would be my job then to take care of that. Even if you come home from work and you like, hey, sweetheart, like I'm tired, like I need to rest, etc. Then it's gonna be my job to do the providing when it comes to the cooking, the cleaning, and washing dishes, etc. But when we think of traditional chores, this is just me personally. I don't like washing dishes. When it comes to the dishes, this is like the worst chore in my mind that I feel like that any person within a relationship can do is wash dishes. I don't mind cooking. I don't mind, laundry. I don't mind vacuuming, all that. But when it comes to like washing dishes, oh man, it's horrible. But getting back to the topic as far as gender roles go, no, I don't necessarily believe in gender roles, but I'll talk about it a little bit more. Big Bro, what you got?
Yeah, neither do I, but you hear a lot of people talk about it, so I think that it's whatever. It's almost like our 50-50 rule comment, it's no specific thing in a household that a man and woman should have to do. But I think you have to establish those things and talk about them up front to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because somebody got to wash the clothes. Somebody got to wash the dishes. So you have to be communicating about those things and making sure that you have an understanding about that, because some people are stronger in areas than others, So we can get into some specifics later on, but there is no, if I'm able to get around, I got the yard because I don't want the lines to be messed up.
Right. And I think OCD sometimes, depending on the partner, plays roles in that as well. But as always, I'm open-minded, right? And I feel like your partner should be open-minded as well. And what that looks like is, let's just say that for whatever reason, I don't know how to cook. Am I willing to learn how to cook, or will I just say, nah, look, if you ain't cooking, I'm not going to eat? To me, again, this is where the barrier comes from when we say that we're 100-100 versus we doing 50-50. right? Because again, you got to have your all into the relationship, especially when we talk about your marriage, and versus you just picking and choosing which ones that you willing to do and what you willing not to do. On that same token, though, you have to understand like there's a difference between a person wanting to learn in a sense and a person who shut down, just like nah, if you don't cook, we ain't eating. So I'm not about that, but even when it comes to what Big Bro said, when it comes to things being a specific way, i.e., the yard work. Now, depending on how big the yard is, depending on like what you gotta trim, depending on how much labor work it really is. Most of the time, the men is gonna be like, "Hey, nah, sweetheart, we got that." So all we need is some lemonade. Let us go ahead and get that. And then for the most part, you would think that that's just falling under the traditional chores or the gender roles, but it's just we're men, so like we don't want you just out here just sweating. We don't want you out here, possibly throwing your back out, or you not really caring about the lawn like how we care, and you messing up the lines and etc. Because like to men, like that matters to us the same way it is like for an example, let's just say that we putting up groceries most of the time, or most relationships that I've been in, like the women put up the groceries, right? If I was to put up groceries and let's just say that the milk and the juice is not together, well, they're gonna go back and fix it because that bothered them for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? So, and that whole situation is just dependent on what Big Bro always say, right? You have to understand how to communicate, and then for me, right, you being open minded to whatever it is that your significant other lacks in that area, and then on top of that, that's exactly where we get the equally yoked that we talk about a lot on here as well. When you equally yoked in a sense, whatever it is that your significant other is lacking in, then you pick it up, and then vice versa. Big Bro, what you got?
Yeah, you hit on one thing though. If I'm doing something that's considered a traditional role by my lady, I don't want you going behind me. That will burn me up. Because if it's my role, and if it's something, it's a way you want to do it, I'm open to you telling me how you would do it. Now, whether I do that or not is a different story, but I'm open to listening to how you do it. But if you continue to do that, just do it. You can just do it. Like, for instance, cleaning the bathroom. Well, I would have cleaned it this way. Okay, the first time, okay, how would you clean it? I got you. All right, do it again. Next time you come, I would have cleaned this way. You know what? Oh, you're right. Here's the bucket. Here's the sponge. Here are the gloves. And let me know how that goes. I'll be downstairs watching TV. But I don't, like you said though, I don't believe in specific roles for anyone. I think we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we've learned different things as we came up as kids, and what we did. So some things we're gonna be good at, some things we won't be good at. But most importantly, if you can't cook, then don't go in the kitchen. Don't go in the kitchen. That's gonna be a fight all the time. We need to establish that right off the bat. Who can and cannot cook? Like I love cooking breakfast. I'm not a specialty in it, but I love some grits, and everybody can't cook grits. I don't want them grainy. My grits come out nice and creamy every time, so I don't want no grainy grits because some people just can't cook them. Another thing, let me talk about this cooking. See, I'm on there. I just thought about this. Cooking gumbo. There we go. If you not from the South and you talk about cooking me some gumbo from the first time from a recipe, no. You are not cooking me any gumbo because I don't want to be unalive from your cooking because you can hurt people with that gumbo. So I don't play that. When I was married, I'm gonna make some gumbo. You know how to cook? No, I'm following a recipe. Nah, we'll go out. But yeah, so anyway, there are roles, but there are roles that you establish. It's not roles that applies to a man or a woman though. So that's how I go. That's how I roll.
And then while we on the subject of Southern hospitality, like there are just certain things that I'm just going to establish early on. So for an example, let's just say that we went to the mall and let's say that we walk in, for whatever reason, we want to walk to the next store. I am going to always walk on the side of the road. I would never allow you to walk on the side of the road, meaning wherever side the closest to the cars, I'm going to walk on that side. I'll never put you on that side. Same thing when it comes to opening doors. Like personally, like that's just something that's just ingrained in us. We're going to open the door for you in that aspect. Now, when we talk about gender roles or things being traditional in that aspect, that's just certain things that's just ingrained in us that we genuinely feel like, that's just something that we have to do. It's part of us. Like it's not something that we think about. It's just muscle memory. I know for a fact that I'm not going to allow you to walk on the side that the cars come. And I know for a fact that anytime it's time to open doors, I'm going to open the door for you. Big Bro, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with the whole on the outside versus the inside thing and opening doors. I was raised in a single mother home, you know, and she taught me all that. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Open the doors, open the car doors, you know, whatever. But you know, grocery shopping, I love it. I love to go grocery shopping. I don't have to go by myself, but I love to go. So I want to be a part of that because I think that sometimes that can be some of your quality time. You can discuss things you can't discuss at home and things like that. So I love it because my mom, we used to get up every Sunday morning. We would go before church, so we was up early and go grocery shopping. So it's just something that I've always done, and I don't mind going to help out and doing that. So I don't think there is a specific role that has to do that or not do that. Taking care of the kids, getting the kids up and ready for school and things like that. There's no role, you know. I don't think it is anyway. But I know there are some men though that there is no way I'm washing no dishes. There's no way I'm doing no hair. I ain't taking care of no kids. That's your job, you know. But I just think they miss out on it because doing hair and things like that, or hanging out and doing some things or chores or whatever with the kids around the household or with your spouse, that just adds to it. You know, that's the whole part of, you know, it used to be when I was, we'd invite people over. They'd be in the clinic. Can you just sit down and just enjoy what's going on? No, they had to do it. So, okay, let's do it together so we can sit down together. But I believe in doing whatever it takes to make sure that you can come together and you can have more time to yourself or something. There's no way I could sit at home and be just watching TV while my girl is out just doing whatever. I want to help out to make sure I take the load off. And I think that's what it's all about, just sharing. And it's a different way of sharing it in a different intimacy when you can do those type of things.
Absolutely. And I just want to just add on my own perspective when it comes to grocery shopping. Listen, I can't grocery shop. I can't go grocery shopping with people. And I mean that in the most positive way. It's just me personally. I just want to get whatever it is that I want to get, and I want to get out, you know, like my experience, like when I went grocery shop with people, they had to stop, you know, they got to pick up the fruit. You got to look at it. You got to hand it to me. I'm like, bro, just pick up the bananas, bro. All the bananas. We go to the next aisle. They got a plethora of sugar, but you just need a specific one. You got to pick, like, come on, just pick up the shit. Like, I just want to just get what I want to get and get out. That's my only concern when it comes to grocery shopping and or me doing it myself, because then on top of that, like, I like to get what I want to get too, you know? And sometimes, like, when you grocery shopping for the family, you know, you gotta ensure that everybody get what they want. Everybody want to get what they X, Y, and Z. So I just want to just go in, get what I'm getting, pay for it, and get out.
Well, I can say this though: you can still get what you want. You know, you just have to make sure that's on the list. That's all.
It's an extra 45 minutes just so I can go to the little Debbie section, and so I can pick out which ones I want.
So okay, so then you have to stay at home then, I guess, right?
Facts. That's what I'm saying.
Be that when you get home, and then you can help her take the groceries out the car.
Absolutely.
You can't go to the grocery store.
Absolutely.
But then, what's gonna happen when she pick up the wrong little Debbie snack? Then what's gonna happen then? You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna go back. I mean, I'm really gonna eat it for real. But next time, you know what I'm saying? Next time we gonna put it out to make sure you get the right one.
That's what's up. So I know that you raised one of your children and little girl. And how they go and doing the hair? How was that?
That was me. That was me. Listen, YouTube University. Outside of what my mom essentially taught me, you know, look, I braided hair, plaited it. The ponytails definitely was popping, you know. But yeah, that was just things. But I'll tell you this: in my situation, though, even though I grew up in the military as a single dad, like, I had the single dad, but a lot of people knew that I was a single dad, so a lot of people helped me along the way. If that makes sense. So yeah. when it came to, like, Precious getting her hair braided, like, a lot of people was like, "Oh, you say, like, I'll braid her hair," or like her teachers, in a sense, like she like when she started kindergarten all the way up to first grade, she had the same teacher. And her teacher was like, "Oh, you know, I'll stay late and I'll braid her hair. I hope you don't mind, Mr. Simon, etc." And it wasn't nothing about her trying to get at me and all this stuff. It was just she genuinely just wanted to do stuff like that. Now, could that be the case? Possibly. But I'm just saying that's just one example. But there are plenty of examples of me having help in the military as far as, you know, people helping me as far as, you know, taking care of Precious in that aspect.
Yeah, I wasn't a great hair person because we had all boys in the family except my mom, you know. But when I put put 3 of them little plaits on the head, man, I was so proud of them plaits for my daughter, man. Hey, she was younger, so she wouldn't say nothing about it at the time, you know. But I know she's like, "Oh, my daddy, help him." Yeah. But let me ask you a question though. So when we have the different roles of where the communication coming out, like the groceries, we can use that for instance. Is that there may be a certain spot for everything. So I know that my responsibility, and it's not just a gender thing, it's just knowing our limits and knowing things that can prevent conflict. Is she may have certain places that she want to put certain things, and I may just want to throw stuff in there. So I know my job is to get them out of the car,
And just bring it to the kitchen.
unload the groceries, and get out of the way. You know what I'm saying? What you need? You need anything? I'll help you out or whatever, because I just know my role. And I think it's very important that you establish those things up front. I'm not saying that you have to sit down and do it, but it's at some point you need to do that, because if not, it's going to cause a lot of frustration. And sometimes we don't say things really on our mind. Like if you have someone that can't cook, I'm gonna say it, because I don't want to eat the same nasty thing twice. So I'm gonna let you know, hey, look, I'm not gonna say it like that, but I'm gonna say it in a way, hopefully, that it's a positive. Or if you putting things up the wrong way and they have them in a certain spot, if I see you going back and forth, hey, hold, let's talk about this. I thought we had open, honest communication. If I'm not doing it the right way, either let me know or tell me to get out of the way or whatever. But no, I don't want you having to do extra work though. Let's just do that.
And while you own that, this is another teaching moment that I definitely wanna share to people. Like, this is what I mean when some people are genuinely ignorant to that aspect. And what I mean when I say that is, just because you like things a specific way, that don't mean that your partner likes that. Like me, I don't have OCD. When it comes to me putting up spices and sugar and all things, I can put it all in the same cabinet. It'll be fine. But I know some people, it got to be dressed right, it got to be the salt and the pepper, it got to be this, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's fine to just put it in the cabinet to me. But I know to your significant other or to your partner, that has a different type of meaning in a sense. I don't have OCD. I'm not saying that I'm nasty by any means, but I don't it don't bother me to just put the spices, as long as they all together. I don't really care about that. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, like I keep saying it, I think it's important to communicate it. If you want me to do it and you know that I'm gonna go in there and do it the way I want to do it, don't complain about it, because you already know what's gonna happen. Just go. It's like me saying, go cut the grass, and I know that I have a certain way I want to make them lines. How I want them lines to look and that edge and look. If you go out there and do it, if I say do it, go. I'm not gonna complain about it. But the thing is, I'm not gonna let you do it. I'm gonna go do it myself. So because I want my lines to look a certain way. So there's different things and different ways to make sure that it's preventing any type of possible small conflict to come into the relationship, because you're talking about things. And everything, for the most part, always boils down to communication. If you know that especially if you let me cook, if I'm not cooking something the right way, I want to know. It's not going to hurt my feelings one bit. I'll say, that's cool. If you hear I cook it that way, but if I want it that way, I'm going to cook it my way. It's going to be easy, because we make too many problems for ourselves that things shouldn't be problems, because we don't talk about it and we don't talk openly about it. I would much rather you tell me that it's not good, or I can tell you that, so I'm not eating the same thing again, because if we got a pet, don't be sliding over to the pet if I don't like it. So.
That's tough. That is tough. But I definitely understand that concept. Open, honest communication. And then again, like, don't get upset when someone might not necessarily receive it as to how you're presenting it, because again, this is what makes them unique. This is what makes them different from you. And then what you got to understand as well is you're so used to being separate people that now that you get married, now that you one entity, you have to know how to work through things. You have to know how to learn your partner, and then most importantly, like, you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to adapt, etc.
Right. That's all I got on it, brother. Unless you have something else.
No, that's it for me as well.
Oh, good. All right, we're gonna jump into the next topic. And remember, if you have questions and things like that, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and get Eyes and Lee, they would write them down, and we'll answer them at the end if you have any questions about anything that we're talking about. So the next one we're going to talk about is going to be gaslighting. And for people that don't know, I'll go ahead and read the definition of what that is, so we can know, because a lot of people, I think they misuse it. I think they misuse it in a way where it causes problems for you. Use it as a term that you are willing to just throw out there, and you don't even have no clue what it really means. So I'll read it after you give your opening comments on the legendary, then I'll go ahead and read the definition after that.
Yeah. So to me, gaslighting is more so like manipulation. It's just like me trying to confuse you to make you, in a sense, think of what you believe is real that's not real. If that makes sense. Like, in your heart that it's real. You know in your mind that it's real. You know that it's your reality. But if I'm gaslighting you, I'm trying to get you to question your own reality, if that makes sense. But yeah, you can go ahead and read it off.
Cool. All right. It says it's a form of psychological manipulation where someone makes another person doubt their own sanity, reality, memory, or perceptions, often by denying facts, distorting reality, and making them question their own thoughts and feelings. And I ain't gonna lie, I've been accused of that, and I'm the most open-minded person. Besides, we're equally, he and I are equally okay to open-mindedness. I'm open-minded to anything, but what I don't want to do is be put into a box and told me I'm a certain way unless we talk about it and come to a mutual understanding about that. Because I don't really get caught up in all those things like that, because if something doesn't make sense to me, I'm gonna say it doesn't make sense to me. That don't mean I'm gaslighting. I just need to understand what's going on because I'm not a mind reader. My name is not Miss Whoever, so I don't have a job. I don't have a show that I'm talking me reading minds and things like that. So I just think that people have to really be careful about using that term because sometimes we are just genuinely confused about what's going on and we just want to have an understanding about it. And it's not always gaslighting. It's just that we haven't figured out how we need to communicate with one another to make sure we can come to some kind of equal terms on how we're going to deal with issues.
In my own experience, I've been told that I confuse gaslighting as far as what's the word I'm looking for? It's gonna come to me. But just what you said. When it comes to gaslighting, like I didn't necessarily know that I was gaslighting. It was me just genuinely trying to get to the bottom of it because I really didn't know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And when people normally tell me, oh, like me, like I was the person who was gaslighting, I'm like, bro, why you gaslighting? I'm like, bro, what are we talking about? Because I don't really know what you mean. Like, if I'm truly asking you a question, sarcastic, the sarcasm and gaslighting always in a sense is what confused me because they thought that I was either gaslighting or being sarcastic when I was seriously just, not really knowing. But I feel like when I really want to know, and even if people or adults just feel like you should just know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just like, hey, you an adult, you should just know how to do this. And if you think that I should know how to do it, but I really don't know how to do it, and I'm asking you how, and then your response is like, hey, bro, why you guys like, you know how to do this? Well, I don't really know how to do this, even if it's simple, like I don't know how to do this. So this is what I would offer to people. Before you utilize the term gaslighting or before you accuse people of gaslighting, just simply take a step back. Even if you feel like they are gaslighting, like, listen, are you being serious? You know what I'm saying? Like, ask that question. Are you being serious? And then me personally, I always say if I don't really understand or I want to get a better understanding of what you said, I'm always going to say, can you rephrase that in a different way so that it don't seem like I'm being like I'm gaslighting you or I'm being sarcastic. Hey, can you rephrase that? What's your thoughts?
Right. I definitely agree because a lot of times it is just confusion. It's not even gaslighting. It's just that you don't understand what's going on. And I think that people are so when you start saying you, it's basic communication. When you start saying you, now I'm blocked off because now you're attacking me as a person versus attacking the situation. So we got to focus on the situation. But when you say you did this and you did that, communication 101, that's a communication killer right there. Unaliver, my bad. Unaliver. So just remember that you can't say that. You have to really just talk about it and focus on what the issue is, and I feel or I this or I that is a much better term. Or I feel like that you don't understand me or you're not really, and don't say not listening to me. Ooh, for me, that's a big one for me. If I'm standing here looking at you, because I try my best to look into your eyes when we're talking to one another. If you say you're not listening, that's a problem because I try my very best to listen. I'm not always perfect when it comes to it. So anyway, I think you have to be careful of it. I think, like we said already, it's really overused, and it really leads to other things that come up in the conversation where instead of talking about the issue, now you're talking about that I didn't take the trash out last week or something. It's all over the place.
Yeah, and then again, like gaslighting can also be confused with you being sarcastic in a sense. And I'm a very sarcastic person in a sense, but it's just what you said. Like sometimes we genuinely just don't know. And even though you feel like we as an adult or we as the man in the relationship should know something as simple as that, we might just really just be ignorant to it. So right. Just be careful on how you throw the term gaslighting around. That's pretty much all I have.
I do like what you use this a lot when we're talking to the different things. And you always say that don't assume what basically you say, don't assume that your partner knows something. Don't assume that they understand. Don't assume that they're really feeling what you're talking about. Because a lot of times, if you have already established a communication, you understand that it's just confusion, literally confusion, and you're just trying to get to the bottom of it to make sure that you have some open, honest communication. You know, I should put that on the shirt, open, honest communication. There is nothing that goes on in a relationship that doesn't require you to have open, honest communication. And a lot of times we avoid that because we're worried about feelings or we're worried about hurting someone's ego and things like that. But I think if you know up front that you can bring anything to your partner and talk to them about it, then you're not going to worry about that. But a lot of times we just don't do that, though, for whatever reason. But that's the most basic thing to prevent any issues in your relationship. Not that you're not going to have issues, but when you deal with them, you deal with them in a positive way, and we can still be talking after the fact. You know, that's not talking about after a discussion really bothers me, because if you're my person, I'm your person. There's no reason for us to waste the time not talking or sleeping in different rooms and things when we're going to be back together tomorrow anyway. So let's just squash it and move on and be through with it, and not be so quick to say that I'm gaslighting or I'm doing something to disrespect you. No, we just need to speak openly and honest about it, then it'll get rid of it. You know, this term came from a movie or play back in 1938. I didn't know that. I did a little research on it. So that's where it started at. 1938.
Gaslighting been out that long?
Yeah, but it was gaslight. But they took the term because of what was going on in the play of the movie. And that's what they came with gaslighting at. Yeah, I didn't. It was little known facts by Mike G.
I wouldn't know. Because I really haven't heard that until really the social media era. Like when social media really, that's when I really started to hear. And then obviously, you know, I had my teams and they're like, you gaslighting, you know.
Right.
But I give you, all right, but on a different token, what if they are gaslighting and, you know, like both of you agree that one of you are gaslighting? How would you handle it?
We just got to sit down and talk about it and realize, though, that doesn't do us anything. That doesn't do any good for the relationship. We have come too far. We respect each other. So let's just figure out what's making you go down that road. I'm all about talking about all of it, because at the end of the day, that's my best friend. I'm her best friend. So it's just getting to the bottom of what's really going on. And a lot of times it's not even that subject. It's something else, and we just not able to express it in that way. So we're just going to talk about it. But I probably wouldn't even use the term gaslighting. I'll say it seems like we're just not on the same page with this topic right now, even if I thought it was gaslighting, because once you say it, people just have a different feeling about it. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I would ever use that term when I'm trying to describe an issue that we're going through. So we would just sit down and talk about it. But it would be about how I'm feeling about the issue, not about me saying you're gaslighting, but I want to tell you what the issue is. It would just be straight up. Well, I think we really are misunderstanding one another. So let's figure out let's get to the bottom of it and move on, because, you know, we got some things we need to do. You're looking good in that sundress today, you know?
Hey, facts. But listen, I definitely agree with what you said. Like, it's just, there's no other way of you just genuinely saying, listen. Especially if this is your person. Like, listen, for whatever reason, I'm confused. I'm not trying to be confused. I ain't trying to be funny. Like, let's just get to some type of compromise. Let's just get to some type of conclusion so that we both understand what it is that you want or what it is that I expect, etc. Because right now, like you taking it as me gaslighting is me genuinely just not understanding what you're putting down. That's it. That's simple. And then, you know what I'm saying, the frustration level will possibly come down. And then you'll start thinking like, okay, maybe he or she really don't know what I'm talking about. All right. Just in case you don't know what I'm saying, this is what I mean, X, Y, Z. But there's a certain way, because even that could be sarcasm as well.
Yep.
I don't like that. Like when they start slowing down and like, all right, let me talk to you. Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
You're exactly right, man. I am not a child. And man, I understand.
Like, don't do that.
I may be from Mississippi, but I understand English though very well. I'm not in Korea. I'm not in Turkey or whatever. I'm an American, so I understand. Man. But I think also you hit on it, is that we're just supposed to be best friends and be able to talk to one another. That's all. But that's established early on in the relationship, right? Having open, honest communication. So if you don't start out that way, then it is going to lead to issues, because you don't have conflict resolution involved in it. So you have to have a way to deal with conflict. So they're going to come up. There's two individuals, even between you and I, although we are like-minded people, we think alike. We're from two separate generations. and we do things in different ways, but we have to have a way to talk about it, and we don't mind sharing how we're feeling with one another. So I think it has to be the same way in your relationship, that you have to feel, first of all, the other person has to be very receptive to it. That's the most
That's
important
right.
part. It's not what I'm saying. It's the other person being receptive to it and realizing that this is no harm, no foul. This is just us trying to deal with the issue and come to that fact. But that has to be established early on. So if I have the green light to know that when I come to you with something, that you're going to be think about it openly and honestly and not automatically attack me, then we can have open honest communication. But if I have to tiptoe around you and think I'm walking on eggshells and things like that, it would never work, because I'm always going to be trying to figure out a way to say something that doesn't frustrate the mood or what's going on at the time. So we have to really have to establish that from the very beginning.
Yeah. So, long story short, be careful using the term gaslight because I genuinely might not know, or your partner might not know.
Yes, sir. That's all I have on that one.
I'm good as well.
All right. The next one we're going to jump into is basically seeking professional assistance when you have things like, and you don't even know it, but when you're going through some issues that you can't really formulate in your mind, or even if you're thinking about, doing things to yourself, how is that perceived? Because I know from what I've heard, I haven't talked to many people that I know, but a lot of people always say in our community that we don't want to seek it. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's becoming more normalized now. But when I was coming up, you never went to seek help. And both of us being in the military, there was a stigma attached to seeking professional help at some point, because they thought that they looked at it in a negative way. But I think once Desert Shield came about and people started coming back and actually seeing it, it wasn't like from a past era war or something. People started seeing the effects that it has on men and women when they come back from those type of situations where they are really mentally challenged to assimilate back into normal society. So you need to normalize that. So we can get more into it, but I'll let you give your thoughts on it first.
Yeah. So, from my own personal experience, for those of you who don't know, I've been in the military 19 years now. I'm Army, by the way. And for the most part, up until probably 4 years ago, really, 5 years ago, maybe max, up until like 5 years ago, it was a sign of weakness. And unfortunately, when your leadership saw that, or they see that you went to go get help within the military, a lot of times that kind of stopped you from getting promoted because they saying, hey, you're not fit to handle X, Y, and Z because you went to go get help. Not necessarily saying that you can't lead, but they see that as you being weak, or they saw you in a light of you're not capable of leading because you didn't know how to regulate your feelings, or you didn't know how to regulate what was happening. Now, flipping to that on the outside of the military, in our community, man, it's sad. And I, for one, seen it up personally, like a lot of my friends and family members, again, I actually went to counseling, right? So I'm speaking from experience. But when I brought up the counseling aspect, you get it. It's immediately negative. It's more so like, bro, I'm going to tell them people my business. I ain't going to pay them people my type of I ain't going to pay them people money just so they can listen to me. I can do that here. I can do that. Oh, that just don't work. And a lot of times when you genuinely sit them down and say, listen, this is things that you genuinely need to talk about. And this is another reason as to why it needs to be professional help as well. Because even though you feel like your friends, your best friends, they have your best interests at heart, your family members and all that. Just like we always say, they are going to be biased towards you. So they gonna put themselves in the position to make you feel like they trustworthy, or they gonna back you 1,000%, or you can do no wrong because you was right in that situation, and they want you to understand that they feel the exact same way that you feel. But the problem with that is, even if you're wrong, they still gonna be like, "Hey, nah, you was right in the situation. You had the green light to act the way that you act, even if you didn't." So this is why it's important for you to go and get an unbiased opinion about like things that you need to talk about. And what really hurts us the most, and when I say us, I'm talking about the military the most, is a lot of people are scared of people who get classified as PTSD. And the reason why that hurts is because you have to understand the reason as to what happened to have them change in a sense, meaning they saw something that they couldn't cope with, or they didn't know how to cope with. So now it kind of messes up their reality in a sense, or in a way to where it's triggering. Maybe they hear fireworks, or maybe they hear doors slam and it triggers something that happened to them while they was deployed, and etc. And unfortunately, they get the negative label of, oh, you got PTSD, oh, that's a bad thing. And it's in today's society, I don't understand why it's taken that way. There are reasons as to why somebody would genuinely try to hurt someone else in that situation, but the likelihood of that happening is slim. But I said it to say this: the reason why it's starting to turn around or is starting to help in a sense is because these people are going to get counseling. They are going to get the help that they require. It's not up to us to just be like, hey, they got PTSD, let's just throw them away. No, because maybe they in a situation of PTSD to where they don't know that they genuinely have this problem. So it's our job to ensure, and I say our again, military, it's our job to ensure that they get the best help and the help that they need. Hey, are you like sit them down? Hey, are you feeling okay? And then you kind of peel the onion back and figure out what's the root cause. And like, hey, after talking to you, man, I'm not trying to be funny. This is coming from a good place. This is me coming as your leader. You got to go get some help, man. You got to go talk about it. You got to go do this. You got to go do that. So now it's our job to ensure that we push these guys to go get the proper counseling. We push these guys to go get therapy because genuinely, you talking it out could be the problem. Sometimes we just don't know how to regulate that. Sometimes we just don't know how to put that in words or express that. And this is why we consistently say you need professional help. Professional help.
Yep. I'll take it. I'm gonna put a little bit more twist on the PTSD thing. A lot of people, when they speak of PTSD, they only think about the military service. I'm gonna be transparent right here. I had to get, I had to go through counseling for trust because of the things I saw as a child. It led me to not trust women, and I didn't know it. It was just something that was built into me that I just did it. I would sabotage a relationship in a heartbeat just so I didn't have to be vulnerable and trust that person because I couldn't do it because of the things I saw as a kid growing up and seeing some of the women that I loved the dearest in my life doing some things that taught me, not that I looked negative on them, but I looked at, oh, women do that. Okay. But mentally it was a challenge to get through it. So once I went to get assistance for it and talk about it, and it was the second time because the first time it didn't really come out as PTSD, but all that was a childhood trauma that I was still reliving as an adult and didn't know it. So I had to deal with that. And it really helped me be a better person in relationships because I was more open-minded. And the one thing that I realized, it really wasn't about the trusting. It was about me trying to prevent myself from being hurt. So I had to really deal with that in a way. And then it allowed me to be more vulnerable. And that's why I'm all about the open, honest communication, because at the time, the person I was seeing, I couldn't talk to them about it because they, as the stigma that comes along with it. And that's another reason. We can talk about that in a second. But that's another reason people don't go and get assistance for it because people put a stigma on it that you're weak or that you're not capable and things like that. But it wasn't at all. It wasn't that at all. It's just that I needed an outlet and the person standing across me that's supposed to be my best friend, I couldn't talk to him about it. So that led to me not being willing to discuss it and just then sabotage it. So why, if you wonder about why I'm acting like a single man in a marriage, because I can't talk to you about it. So that's why I'm acting like a single man in a marriage. I can't talk about it, and I don't even know what's going on with me. To be honest with you, I'm just doing it just to do it. But it was a way to protect myself from being hurt, and that's what I came. It wasn't about the trust thing. It was about me bringing a childhood trauma into adult life and dealing with that. Or trying to deal with it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I definitely understand that. And then on top of that, we can flip the therapy or the counseling as well. It's just because someone goes get counseling or just because someone seeks therapy, I don't know why that's immediately a derogatory thing. Like you immediately think, oh, it's a negative aspect. But sometimes you doing this before major events could teach you how to maneuver through said events, if that's the case. So, for an example, there's nothing wrong with you going and get counseling about how to communicate properly. That's just you just having extra tools in your toolbox so that when certain situations happen, you know how to regulate your feelings, you know how to regulate your emotions, you know how to properly communicate. Even when people go before they get married, they go get marriage counseling. That's not a bad thing. It's just, hey, this is some things or some signs that you should be aware of when this is happening. It's okay. Take a step back, sit down, talk, etc. Or hey, you can go together and you can go get some financial counseling. Hey, it teach you how to build this. It teach you how to put money there. It teach you how to pay your bills. It teach you anything as far as anything that could help you about basic adulting. It shouldn't be a derogatory thing for you to say, hey, I'm going to go get some counseling. I'm going to go get therapy just so that I can add some tools to my toolbox so that it's not foreign when these things or these situations pop up.
Yeah, and I really believe legendary is that there can be two forms of it. It can be individual, even though you're a couple, and there can be as a couple. Because sometimes a person needs to go and sit in front of someone by themselves to be able to talk openly about what they're talking about, so then they can bring it back to their partner. But other times you're having an issue, like you said, the thing you use with communication is that you're able to sit down. You, if you're not able to sit down and have a conversation without fighting about it and not coming to some kind of resolution, you probably need to go get some counseling just to help you get through that communication piece, because that's all it really is most of the time is two people are trying to get to the same goal, but they don't know how to get there. And if you can go through some counseling as a couple, that would help you out. And matter of fact, that would probably help a whole lot of other areas of your life if you're doing it together, because that's going to be a form of intimacy as well, and they're going to really appreciate you for that, because now they see that you're all in. So that builds up the trust, that builds up the pulling up the, anyway, we'll go on from that. But that builds up a lot of things that are very beneficial for the relationship if you're able to do it together. But that could be the and I don't always have to go. Maybe it's just you, and that's okay. I'm not. It's nothing wrong with that. It's just maybe that's just the issue you need to deal with on your own. So then you can come back and be totally all in on what we're doing. But I would be willing to go. I would definitely be willing to go. But sometimes you have to go by yourself and deal with that to be able to come back and be a whole person. Then.
Yeah, and I think that that's a big key to it as well. Just kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, like there's just a certain sensation, a certain feeling, a certain thing that happens when someone is willing to do things that they're kind of uncomfortable with, versus someone who's just closed minded, is like, nah, bro, I'm not going to counseling. You can figure it out on your own. Because once you start down that road, like where are you going to end at? Because now all you just saying is like, listen, I don't think I need counseling. You the one who need counseling. So you go ahead and you go get all the counseling you need, but I'm fine. But you're trying to build together. You're trying to do things together. This is where I always say you have to be able to compromise, even if you don't want to go. And then you go, and then maybe you find out some things about yourself that you just didn't know, and now you're aware of. You're not ignorant to it. So there's a difference between you, in a sense, wanting to go with your partner, you wanting to go by yourself, you wanting to go get help, and there's someone who just closed off and like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I don't need that. That's just those two things just look different to me in a relationship.
Yeah, and the most important part I think that you have to deal with is that the person that's going or the people that are going, they have to be open and honest about what they're going through. If you're not ready to change and open and honest about what you're going through, you might as well save your money, because that person sitting across from you cannot help you if you're not willing to be open and honest about what you're actually going through and really giving them exactly what's on your mind and how you're thinking, how you're moving and things like that. Because if you can't be that way, then they can't help you, because all they move on the things that you're saying. They connecting and trying to help you connect the dots, because obviously that's why you're there. So you might as well open up to it and be open and honest about what you're going through. And I think that was the for me that was the easiest part, because I knew that I was a good guy, but why am I having these failed relationships? So the first time that we talked about I was really ready to dig down deep into it, because I didn't have anyone when I was growing up that showed me what that looked like anyway. So I didn't have anyone that would encourage me to go do those things. So
Mm-hmm.
luckily, the military has done so many different things for me, man, that being in the military allowed me to become open minded about it, to make sure that I would be open to someone being able to help me and help me be a better person. And it's all been good, because it's led me to be the person that I am today. It's led me to be more responsive in relationships and more open minded about things. And that's why I totally believe, and I say it 1,000 times when we're talking, open, honest communication is the key to just about anything that goes on in a relationship.
Yeah, the last thing that I'm gonna say about it is this is where I became aware in counseling, military counseling. This is where I became aware that I lacked accountability on my own part. Anytime that I had went to counseling, especially when it came time for me having a significant other or me potentially get into a relationship, like it always came to me to where like I always blame the other person, like just like you, like I was always after I came out of my void era, my era to where it was just a dark time. After I, came out of that and knew that I needed to change, this is where I learned that I lacked accountability. And how I learned that is because anytime they asked me a question, I always blamed the other person. I always said they didn't do this or they didn't do that, and it never came from a part of me to me saying, "Hey, I should have did this or I didn't do this." it was always the other person's fault. And that's where I first learned, like, hey, Charles Simon, you don't take accountability. I'm like, what do you mean? And I was like, you do a lot of blaming, but you don't take in account of things that you do. And I always was like, well, I mean, I know I'm not perfect, but because of what they, and I kept going. And I was like, listen, stop. Start off by saying things that you do. Start by saying things that you lack. Start off by saying things that you want to change. And then that's where the ball started rolling for me.
Right. Yeah, getting that eye-opening experiences, it really changes your life, and it changes the life of people around you that's in your circle as well, because you become a better person. And that's why I totally believe in it. And it's all right to get a little checkup every now and then. If you're having some issues that you just can't figure out, then it's okay to go in and get a little checkup. Hey, look, I'm having this issue. Just want to talk to you about it and see if it's something that I'm doing I can change and make it better. And that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that's why I think we have to normalize it and keep talking about it. And I think in the military, especially, they're doing a whole lot better with not just dealing with a trauma that comes from being down in conflict, but also dealing with trauma of everyday life, because a lot of times, most things that we go through, if not all things we go through, is from a place of childhood. And it's things there's unresolved things in our mind that we haven't officially dealt with. And then it's going to continue to be that way unless you figure it out, which is hard to do by yourself, because like you said, we think we're good. We don't think anything wrong with it, but we need a person that's not tied to us to be able to be honest with us so that we can share and open up about it. That's all I have on that one, bro.
Yeah, I like how you said the checkup, because, and maybe it's because of the military. I don't know how it is on the outside world. For those of you who don't know, like, I'm military. This is my only adult job that I've ever had, military. So I don't really know how the outside thing works. But in the military, we have this place called behavioral health. You can go there as many times as you want to. You can go there to talk about anything that you want to talk about, as long as you're not trying to harm yourself or another person. And then everything else is confidential, if that makes sense. And I say the term that you just used, checkup, as in, this is something that I feel like in the military, I don't know the stresses of the outside world, but in the military, man, it is stressful, especially when you junior enlisted, or if you a leader in the military. And I say that because when you're a leader in the military, the decisions you make impacts everyone who's junior to you, or everyone who you have direct control or influence of. And because of that, a lot of leaders don't know how to handle those said stresses. And going back to the checkup portion, I think it's perfectly fine for you to go get a checkup, every 6 months or at least once a year, just to see how you regulate, just to see if there's anything that you can improve on, or to see if there's something that happened to you to where you feel like that you're backsliding, but you don't necessarily see it. You don't necessarily feel that you are, but this is why it's important for you to go get those checkups and you to go talk to people. But again, in the military, we have behavioral health, so they help us regulate that as well.
One last thing I'll say about it, and then we can move on, is that
I think that'll be it.
But you said something that's very important, is that a lot of people don't think to ask the leaders how they're doing. They think the leader have it figured out. And I think that's something I learned later on as I became in a position of, authority and leading and things like that, is that I needed to check on my battle people, my battle partners, to make sure that they were okay, because people don't check in on the leaders. They don't look to help them out. They think they got it figured out, and we don't sometimes. We need help also. I just want to put that in there and just say, check up on the people that are leading, because they need help as well. Not only in the military, but also in the civilian sector.
The more rank that you get in the military, the more people you influence. And I would assume that's the same way as on the civilian sector. The more promotions you get, the higher you go up in the ladder, the more people that you influence. You just kind of look at it as an umbrella. But in the military, the only difference is in this situation is when we get deployed or when we go to war, the specific type of decisions we make is going to impact them in a way to where they won't come home, and or they will come home, depending on what direction we're taking them. And a lot of leaders, just what he said, like a lot of leaders, like they need to be checked up on. A lot of leaders, they have this stressor, like, what if I make the wrong decision? What if I do this? What if I lose X, Y, and Z? So again, this is why it's important for you to go and seek therapy, or you to go get counseling, etc.
Right. That's all I have on it, brother.
I'm good as well.
Okay, the last topic we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about in-laws. If you have in-laws that are good and bad in your relationships, how does that look? What are some things? How would you respond to that, whether good or bad? Let's talk about that a little bit. I know that you talked about not having in-laws, but you've seen it and you have an opinion about it. I'm sure you know how you would like that to look. So what are your thoughts on it? And then I'll come in behind.
Ooh, man, it's that can go left and or right, And I just think this is me personally. Outside of the person who I say is gonna be my wife or my significant other, I don't let other outside things influence my decision and things. Even if my mom wants to be like, "Hey, son, don't marry her. She's X, Y, and Z. She's this. She's that." And me personally, even though I know that it's coming from a good place, there's just a reason. There's just something in me that don't allow me, in a sense, to live my life through other people, even if I know their intentions are well. And it's not necessarily me saying I'm being disobedient in the aspect, but sometimes the help that you get is not necessarily coming from a good place. So, for an example, what that looks like, if my mom was to be like, "Hey, son, don't marry her. She's not good for you," but behind in her mind, she knows that my significant other, my girlfriend, is good for me, but she knows what's going to happen. Now I'm going to push all my attention and all my love, in a sense, my love and sense towards my significant other versus her, and then she's gonna feel like she's in the back burner. She's gonna feel like we don't hang out as much or we don't talk as much, if that makes sense. So this is why I say that I won't let anything as far as like that type of outside influence hinder when it comes to the relationship that I have. And even when it comes to the kids, a lot of us don't take that into consideration too. If you let's just say that you've been dating somebody for however long it is. Let's say that you're thinking about getting married to this person, and then your kid is like, "Hey, mom, hey, dad, hey, I don't think that you should get married to this person. I don't like them." And again, as this is just me, as long as the person I'm with is not harming them in a sense, like physically harming, mentally harming, etc. But you just don't. My kids just don't like them because it's not their mom. My kids don't like them because they just somebody who they don't like. I can't allow my kids, if in this situation, to deter me from moving forward with my significant other. Because at the end of the day, the same thing with my mom. She lived her life. You know what I'm saying? She has her husband. Same thing with my kids. My kids are gonna grow up and they're gonna live their own life. They're gonna have their husband, they're gonna have their wife, etc. So even though I take all these things into consideration, it won't be the do all end all. When it comes to the in-laws, I feel the exact same way. But sometimes in-laws feel like they have more power, or we give them more power than what they should have. Because again, even though we know it's coming from a good place, know me, no. Just because you know what I'm saying, you the in-law, you feel like you got some extra power. No. It doesn't work like that. But what you got?
Right. No, I agree with what you're saying on that because it's very important that you be able to navigate that. I think one of the things that we tend to forget sometimes is that your mother or your father hasn't spent the type of quality time that you spent with your person. So they only know them from the exterior. They don't know them from the interior. And they don't get all of the things that you have fallen in love with or that you like in that person. So of course they're going to come with a position. Two things. One is they don't know them. And the second thing is they think they're doing what's best for you. Sometimes what they think is best for you is not what's best for you because they don't know your partner like you know them. And another thing, one of the most important things when it comes to dealing with in-laws in a relationship, your in-laws, is that your partner has to be able to communicate to their parents why their opinion is not right for their relationship. That's difficult sometimes because some people have grown up where they listen to their mom and dad, which I'm not saying they don't have good advice, but like I just said, though, they haven't spent the time that you spent with that person. But if it's my mother and father that's doing it, I have to be willing to stand up to them. It shouldn't be my partner's responsibility. It's my responsibility to make sure I talk to them. We should be able to do it as a couple as well. But at the end of the day, you don't want your partner because it's going to be frustrating. If your partner is continually saying, your mom is telling me this, they told me how to change the diaper. I know how to change the diaper. This is how I change the diaper, but this is how I learned how to change the diaper. Your mom is continually telling you that, no, baby, when you're in that kitchen, this is how you cook this food, that's going to get frustrating for your partner, especially if you're sitting back on that, just sitting back chilling, and just letting it go. No, you have to step in and take care of your partner because they're trying to respect your mother and respect you at the same time, or your father, when you're just sitting back, just let it happen. No, the other partner has to be the one to step in and say, look, enough is enough. We appreciate your assistance. We appreciate your advice. At the end of the day, it's what we decide, not what you decide for us. And sometimes it's hard for them. But if the other partner is on board with speaking up, that helps out a whole lot, and it prevents a lot of negative condemnation that's going on in the relationship.
I mean, that's pretty much all I have with that. But a lot of the in laws, they coming from a good place. I mean, it's just my only thing when it comes to in laws is just they not gonna be the end all to be all do all. Like, you know what I mean? That's really all. And right is right and wrong is wrong. If I feel like that you're doing it right, you know what I'm saying? We ain't got a problem. If I feel like that you're doing things wrong, I'm gonna tell you you're doing something wrong. Or if my wife, my significant other, if she feels like, hey, your mom is doing X, Y, and Z, your mom is doing that, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it's my job to go talk and ensure that my wife feels, she feels like she's heard, or she feels like, something is bothering her. I need to go ahead and check on that. I need to go ahead and figure out what's going on. But this is what I mean when I say you can't allow other people, even if it's in-laws, to come in and influence what you got going on in your household, especially if there's nothing that's physically, mentally, or anything of that sort being abusive in the household.
Let me share one with you that is probably won't blow your mind. You'll probably not be surprised about it, but now that I look back on it, I'm very surprised. I had a very close family member that, because of the era, the generation they grew up in, they encouraged me to have a side piece. Can you hear what I'm saying? And it wasn't a male neither. They encouraged it, and I'm like, oh yeah, they on board. I mean, they love me, so they must be right. But that was at my time where I hadn't totally formed into who Mike G is today. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought it was cool. Oh, that's what I could go to their house with someone. I could take them over there and chill out with them, and they were perfectly okay with it. But I learned though that is not the right way to be, and that's why I say they're looking out for you. They're not looking out for your relationship some of the time. Sometimes they're looking out just for you as a person, and they're not, like you said earlier when we were talking about another subject. They're not willing to tell you when it stinks, that you're doing wrong, you're messing up. But you need that, because sometimes you don't need that advice from someone that's living, that they haven't dealt with their childhood traumas themselves, and they're putting that on you as well. That's wrong. There's no way I would be encouraging my son or my daughter to go out there and mess around or cheat on their spouse, because that's just what I would tell them is that if you have those urges, you need to talk to your partner and get out of the relationship if that's what you want to do. That's what I would tell them. But I would not encourage it and be hiding it, because that's just wrong, and it doesn't help anybody in any situation, and it just prolongs them staying in a place of unhealthiness in a relationship.
Man, if that got to my wife, if they got to your significant other, boy, oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it was wild, man. But you live and learn, right? Because it was wrong. There was no way that you can make that right. It was just wrong, and I don't look at them any differently. I just understand that they're going through some things for themselves they need to figure out, but they're projecting it onto me and letting me know this. All right, it's almost like passing on a generational curse. You know what I'm saying? But it really, it's up to me to look in the mirror and make the right decision for my relationship.
Like, I know we're short on time, but generational.
Oh, we're not short on time. We got time.
No, listen. No. Generational curse is definitely the topic for the next one. Hey, Oz Lee, just write it down. Generational curses. Yeah, we go. That's something we definitely can adopt. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
I'm good as well. If anyone has any questions about anything that we've talked about this morning, please go ahead and type them in the chat right now. And then Eyes and Lees will bring those questions to us in the order that they received. Or if you have questions about something else that you thought about this week or whatever you thought about it, we don't mind answering those questions as well. That's what we're here for, to try to give a man's perspective, but it's for everybody though. Both parties benefit from it. So in no question, there are some questions that we may not answer, but if there are questions based on things like relationships and life issues, we'll definitely answer those. We don't answer many personal questions though, but if you have questions, go ahead and drop it in there. If not, then we'll act accordingly.
For those of you who late coming in, the first discussion that we talked about, the first topic we talked about was traditional chores / gender roles, if that makes sense. The next one we talked about gaslighting. how in a sense that's used as a form of manipulating someone else's reality. And then the next one we talked about was therapy / counseling, and then the last one we talked about was in laws. that generational breaking that that's something we definitely got to dive into.
I'm down with it. That's good. Yeah, because I know I was going through one and didn't even know it. You know, I was acting accordingly to how the generational curse said I should act.
Boy, man.
For everyone that doesn't know, also I'll put that out there is that right now we come on Saturday nights and Saturday mornings only because Legendary right now he's in Korea. Right now the time over there is what is it 9 something?
It's 9:03 p.m.
9:03. You know, so he's a few hours ahead of us. So we try to make sure we come on to catch
few
both.
hours ahead.
Oh.
I said a few hours ahead. I wish.
Yeah, just a few. Yeah, just a few. It depends on what you know. I used to get into an argument in my marriage about that. A couple and a few. When they said a couple, they meant like 3 or 4. I was like, that's not a couple. You know, that's not a couple. But anyway, I digress. So we don't have a set time right now. But once he gets back to the States, we're going to sit down and look at the time frame that's been. He's only going to be an hour behind me now. So that's going to help out a lot. So we're able to come up with something that's more beneficial or more conducive to everyone being able to join us at a more decent hour. We understand this is early, but on his personal page, he gets a lot of people that wake up early in the morning during the work week to be tuning in. You know, so we know it's not too early for some people.
And not too much.
Also, if you haven't already done so, look in our bios. Go ahead and check out the YouTube page. We have a YouTube page out there. We have all the episodes up there, past episodes. That things that we've talked about. So just go ahead, if you can, check out our bios, go ahead and subscribe to it. And eventually sometime in this year, we're going to probably try to move over to YouTube solely. And we may do our personal things over here, but we do our parallel gens over there. And I think someone asked you at the beginning, parallel gens. I'll go ahead and explain that a little bit. The title came from, I'm 60 and Legendary is almost 40. But we have like-mindedness when we think about things. But the one thing I can say about us having like-mindedness, we also have like-mindedness about communication and being able to communicate openly. So we can talk about anything and everything. And he and I can say, I don't use absolutes very often, but I can tell you for a fact, he and I will always agree that we can disagree on something and still be the same people we're going to be. We don't take it personal. And I think that's a lot of times when people, they take things personal versus realizing it's just a thing you need to talk about. And he and I, we don't do that. So that's how we came up with. Originally, it was parallel generations, but that was something medical. So we just chopped it off and put parallel gens, GENZ, and that's how we came up with the name of parallel gens. Because although we are generations apart, we come together and touch many generations just to share our opinion about life and things that goes on.
Hey, just what Big Bro said, no need for me to add my 2 cents. He said it. Hey, if y'all ain't got questions, man, listen, we appreciate y'all.
Yep, I'll go ahead and get my part. Hey, thank you all for coming through. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. We know you could be doing so many other things other than listening to us talk about it. But I just want to let you know that we really care about being able to share our opinion and hopefully helping someone deal with a situation they're going through or whatever it may be. Because we do this because we like dealing with people. We like helping people, you know, and we get a lot out of this also. We really get a lot out of interacting with you all and being able to share this. Lee and I, as always, we thank you for keeping us on track and keeping us out of trouble. you all do a good job making sure that we have the backgrounds that we have and things like that. So we really appreciate you all as well. All right, bro.
Yeah, as always, Big Bro, shout out to you. Lee, as always, for holding it down for the one time. Everyone who consistently come in and show us love and help us grow on this journey with the podcast. As always, we do appreciate it. Again, right, all the episodes that we did previously, they are up on the YouTube channel. So it's Parallel Gens, just YouTube it. If you want it easier, you can click the link in my bio, click the link in Big Bro bio. It's easier. Other than that though, that's pretty much it. We appreciate y'all. Hopefully y'all enjoyed and learned a thing or two. Just what Big Bro said, like we enjoy giving back, right? We just share our experiences and etc. Just what we really want in a sense is for you to not take this as financial advice or personal advice or anything like that, like professional advice, right? This is just The two of us just giving our own thoughts and opinions and experiences from things that we genuinely went through. Other than that, though, listen, y'all be great. Have an amazing Saturday, and then last but not least, be the reason someone smiles today. Y'all be safe.
One love.